Please be with us for the last presentation on the learnings and recommendations. We would like to share some thoughts, some insights with you after looking at all the different practices, also learning from the practitioners during the deep dives. And then after this, a short interactive session, and we wrap up the webinar. So the first point that came as one concluding thought is that the 15-minute city still continues to be a very popular concept, but unfortunately often is still poorly defined. In many cases, and I think you also have realized that during the discussions before, policy makers promote sustainable transportation, reducing car ownership and usage, and maybe reclaiming streets, and then label this as a 15-minute city practice. However, they are not fully using the concept. It's different pieces to the puzzle, which all play a very important role. So please don't get me wrong. All of this makes sense. However, sometimes the 15-minute city a label is slapped on it, and then they want to create some additional buzz. So the question is if, for instance, car sharing is aligned to the principles of the 15-minute city, how about construction of affordable housing? We had the discussion on Uber and Lyft in the US context. So I think all of these different measures somehow can play a bit of a role, but at the end we have to come up with a strong concept that can also be measured and not misunderstood. So that's sometimes also a problem. If we don't define it properly, it can be misunderstood and then used against what we are trying to achieve. If we think about the UK context and the conspiracy theories. So it's not a surprise that also Carlos Moreno and Catherine Gall are not so keen on just sticking on the 15-minute city with this strict catchment, but shifting more to happy proximities as a much more positive term that prioritize citizens' well-being, livability, social dimensions that we also discussed, which are crucial and which are at this moment underrepresented, unfortunately. So this is something that we should be aware of. If we don't know where to start, we can look at our schools and their surrounding neighborhoods. And this is something that the pioneering cities in Paris, but also Bologna, looked at and used the schools. The schools are strategically spread among the city itself, but more important, if we prioritize redesigning the immediate surroundings, transforming them into multifunctional spaces. For instance, allowing leisure activities in the afternoon after the school closes. By this, we can create a lively neighborhood. And we can also create a much more safe neighborhood if we look at vulnerable people like kids, children, and if we create a safe, enjoyable, comfortable neighborhood, then this is a very, very good start. And based on this, also in the superblocks in Barcelona, this was handled in a similar fashion. So that's something that we have to do because space is still the scarce resource in our cities, and we have to somehow find ways of using our space properly. So reallocating space from cars to other modes and also to other uses. So that's very important. It's still a primary concern. So here we can use tactical urbanism, can use street experiments, also just trying something and then making this more permanent. This is something that proved to be very powerful. However, it can also backfire. if we don't get our citizens, our neighbors on board. So this is something that many of the policymakers in the deep dives also prioritized. However, it comes as a surprise that this is not really done too much. So there's lots of work that needs to be done. How we can really create a process that includes the neighbors and that shapes also the neighborhoods according to their needs. What we've seen also from the deep dives is that sometimes decentralizing decision making could be a solution. And by this, we mean that there are allocations of budgets to a district level that can then directly involve citizens. There are initiatives, they are called, for instance, proximity agents in Bologna, or climate agents in Vienna, just to give two examples. And in Paris, they also use this Pacte Parisien de la Proximité. Sorry, Catherine, for my horrible French pronunciation. But by this, we can bolster citizen involvement and local governance structures. And this is something that we have to do to empower them, to make everyone being part of this transition, of this movement. What we also discussed, and where we scored rather low votes on the level of relevance, the urban logistics. However, we believe that if we want to boost the local economy, we also have to find ways of bringing goods to smaller shops with our neighborhoods that focus mainly on active mobility, so walking and cycling. So there are only a few cities that really are taking this into account at the moment. Urban logistics. We have, for instance, in Vienna, a Wienbox, which is a white label parcel box system, which aims to minimize delivery journeys and simplifies a bit the parcel collection and drop-off processes. Also often by using cargo bikes, so a very sustainable way of getting your e-commerce goods delivered. And this is something that was also raised in the Q&As and in the questions. The traffic doesn't stop at the municipal boundary. So the 50-minute city concept should also not. So we talked about the jobs and commuting, and people are crossing borders of cities. This is something where we are lacking really strong regional governance structures. So more metropolitan or regional governance structures could help here. But at the moment, everything is done by the neighborhood, maybe by the city overall if they have a vision in place, but this is where it stops. And this is sometimes problematic, but we've also learned from some cases where we shift from cities more to suburbs. Luca asked a question at the beginning of the webinar. So we have some good examples like Halesome in the UK, where they are able to achieve something. And also the new DOT proposals, projects just started this year that are focusing more on the suburban rural context. So we are eager of learning more about this in the next coming years. To conclude, there are already many good practices. So we've seen that hopefully within the last 2 hours. So it's an excellent concept which creates still lots of traction and will also in the future. We have to make it tangible. We have to fill it with policies. We have to assess also the impact of the different policies. But first and foremost, we have to share experiences. We have to learn from each other. We have to connect people that want to make a change. And so let's disseminate these findings. And we are very happy that we had the opportunity to look at this. And also very happy that you all participated and shared in the interactive parts, all your knowledge with us. And yes, the report will be the link will be published by Maxi in a bit. But I finished my presentation with this. And again, I would like to thank all of you, and especially the lovely, very smart, engaged 15-minute city mapping team. Thank you all for your contributions, for your hard work. It was really lots of fun. And thanks also, Maxi and Lena, for your excellent guidance.